guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to bring you this video. I will be giving you 10 tips to parenting multiple children. If you would like to see this video, stay tuned.
I'm not the type's gotta have someone. I'm not the type's gotta be in love. I had a lot of people come.
This video was actually inspired by one of my coworkers. She started kind of tuning in to our channel and watching the Dove's Nest, and she was asking me questions, as she always does, about how to manage her children, questions about being a new mom and things like that, and now having a second child. And she was saying she was scrolling through our channel and she didn't see anything on, like tips for parenting. So I was like, well, that was kind of dumb for me in all these years not to even do a video on it. So I'm going to be doing this video today. Hopefully you will gain some tips, some knowledge about parenting, especially parenting a lot of children, because I have a lot, and it will be very helpful for you and your family. All right, so let's get right into it. Tip number 1 is to be realistic. Again, you have to be realistic. Some of us think that once we start becoming a mom, or once we transition from singleness to married life to now being a mom or dad of children, that it's going to be the same way it was when you were single, or when it was just you and your husband, or you and your partner. No, ma'am. No, sir. Your life will change significantly when you start having children. The things that you used to do, you are not going to be able to do them the same way you used to do them. I'm not going to say that you're not able to do them. However, you have to modify your time to make sure that you can fit those things in that you used to do. So tip number 1 is to first be realistic. Your life has changed. You are now on assignment. We come into life we all have purpose and we all have destiny over our lives. But when you become a parent, what you have to understand is that is one of your assignments. Your job is to nurture and to train up these children so that they are productive citizens, so that they are children of God, so that they understand and they know their purpose, so they know how to navigate in this thing we call life. So you're now on assignment. It is not as much about you as it used to be, unfortunately, but that is the reality. You're a parent. So the focus is no longer primarily on you. It is about nurturing and teaching and giving these children what they need so that they could be wonderful adults one day. I also want to say in that regard that you won't get as much sleep as you used to get. I'm sorry. I have so many friends who have entered motherhood and they started to expand their family, and they also can attest to this. You do not get as much sleep as you used to. It's just not possible. I mean, you definitely can get that 8 hours in if you schedule appropriately, but the rest time that you used to have might not be the same, especially that first year. I found myself, if I could just get like 4 hours of sleep, that was a good day. So just know that the first year in particular, you won't get as much sleep as you used to. However, as your children get older, they get into the 1s and 2s, you will start to get back on a regular schedule. However, you won't get as much sleep, consecutive sleep, as you used to. I am a person, and anyone that knows me knows that one of my favorite things to do is to nap and sleep. I'm like a sleep queen. Like, I love my rest. I need it. But I found that since I've had children, I'm not able to get as much. But my children do know that once we get home from school, mommy needs a little quick 1 hour power nap, and then I can be myself again. I just need that reset. Okay? So tip number 1 is to be realistic. Know that things have changed. Is life over? No, your life has just begun. It's going to be a wonderful life. It's going to be very rewarding, but it has changed, and you have to accept that reality. Tip number 2 is going to be organized. I have to encourage you, when you have multiple children, you have to be organized. If you're not organized, you are going to make life so much more difficult for yourself. Not only is organization good for you, but it's also good for your children. I have a tendency to prep everything. And I know you kind of see me looking down, but I'm just kind of trying to make sure that I look at my notes so that I don't forget anything. I prep everything, especially my children's. I was about to say my students because I'm a teacher, so I have students and I'm around children all day. So I prep everything, especially my children's clothing. I have 5 children. For those of you who don't know, I have a lot. I can't even believe I had this many. But I have 5 children, so I have to make sure that I prep their clothing for the week. So I'll take a Saturday and sometimes Fridays, depending on how my schedule goes, and I'll go ahead and take out all their clothes for the upcoming week. And when I do that, I try to make sure that every child has at least 5 outfits for the weekdays. Over the weekend, it really doesn't matter because, you know, on Saturdays, we'll just choose something. We have the extra time to kind of pull out clothes during the weekend. But for the weekdays, on that Friday or Saturday, I will take out 5 outfits per child. So that means I'm actually taking out 25 outfits for the upcoming week. Yes, it sounds crazy, but it makes my life so much easier during the week. So I don't have to daily go and find 5 outfits. I already have them nice and prepped. And what I'll do is we have like a dresser. It's like a 3-layered dresser. And the first dresser is just like their panties and then their socks. And I have 5, so the next layer is going to be the 3. I have two of my older children's clothes, and then one of the baby's clothes. And then I've sectioned it so there are 3 piles, and each pile has 5 outfits. And then that next layer is my oldest daughter's because her clothes are going to be bigger, and then one of my babies. So I have you need to know my ages, the ages of my children. So I have an 8-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old and she's now 3. So I have an 8, 7, 5, a 3-year-old, and one that just turned 2. Okay. So in that 3rd layer, I have my oldest daughter's clothes and the 3-year-old's clothes because her clothes are going to be a little bit bigger. I do have a tendency of making sure that when I do laundry, I try to incorporate the laundry into, making those 5 piles, so that I'm kind of multitasking and getting like a bang for my buck. So with the clothing, if you want to make it easier so every night you're not having to go through that process of finding outfits for your children, choose a Friday night or a Saturday when you're doing laundry and just go ahead and set those piles out and put them in the dresser, okay, or whatever your designated location is. Also, I prep food. I prep our meals. I try to do that as much as I can, but I do have sometimes where I kind of fall off and I don't get the opportunity to, and I find out, after school or after I finish working, I'll ask myself, like, what in the world are we having, because I did not prep. One thing that can help you a great deal in the prep for food and the food prep area will be a crock pot. Let the crock pot be your best friend. If you look online, you can find various meals that can be created with the crock pot, so that when you get off work, you're not having to stress about what you're going to eat. And I literally will have days to where my aunt will kind of, she'll get on me because I'm like, oh man, what are we going to eat tonight? She's like, I told you need to put your food in the crock pot, and let it set so you don't have to worry about it. And on those days that I forget or I didn't already take something out the night before, I am kind of concerned, or not really stressed, but I kind of get overwhelmed at times because I did not do that. So another tip for you all is to use that crock pot. If you don't have one, go out and get it. Also, try to develop a system when it comes to organization. Develop a system that will make it easier for your husband and your children, or your significant other, will make it easier for them to be able to follow. And by system, I mean set a structure where everyone knows where certain things are found around the house, or everyone knows what the routine is, so that it is clear and concise and it's easy to follow. I found that on several occasions, my husband will call me while I'm at work and he'll say, well, hey babe, where's the baby's shoes? And because I've developed a system and a location for certain things, I can say, hey, they're in the bin between the baby's cribs, so he can easily access and find them. because I have a system that is set with my daughters, they know where to find certain things and they know how to access them very quickly. So develop a system, because that will make it very easy for you and everyone in the household to be able to follow and manage easily. My next tip is going to be to plan. You want to make sure that you plan as much as possible. Set a schedule for almost everything that you do. And I know that, not everybody is meticulous and is organized and is that schedule. Now, I'm not saying that I schedule everything all the time, but I notice that when I have a schedule for what we're doing, or a schedule that's set for certain big things that need to be done around the house, or for holidays or for vacation or anything like that, when I set a schedule, things flow so much more smoothly. So you want to make sure that you set a schedule. You want to make sure, as far as your meals, what I do, I was talking about the meal prep, but not only do I do the meal prep when I can do meal prep, but I also have a schedule for a month. I've come up with a calendar of certain things that we can eat during that month. And if I follow the calendar, when I follow the calendar, it makes things a breeze. I can, it's very easy for me to figure out and know what we're going to eat. It's very easy for my husband to be able to just pull something from the fridge. Or when I'm going grocery shopping, it makes it so much more easy for me to know what to actually order. I do the Walmart pickup. If you don't do the Walmart pickup while I'm on scheduling, make sure that you do that. It will change your whole entire life. I have multiple. So and I'm sure many of you women out there do not want to be in a grocery store with a slew of children, okay? It is just, it's quite nerve-wracking, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So what I've done is I've done the Walmart pickup, and because I've scheduled out the meals for the month, I can kind of look at those meals and then determine which ones I need to order in that pickup. You go to Walmart, you drive in, you call the number, they bring your groceries out to you. So try to use that service that's offered. It makes your life so much easier, for real. And I find that those months that I forget to go, and I'll talk to somebody at work man, I gotta go grocery shopping. I don't want to go grocery shopping. We need food in the house. And they're like, did you do your Walmart pickup? And I'm like, oh, I forgot that. Okay. Another thing as far as scheduling. Now, you all know that I have 5 children. I said that earlier. I have 5. Did you hear me? You didn't hear me. Okay, I said I had 5. Okay. All right, so we got past that. I have 5. But not only do I have 5 children, I have 5 girls. So what does that mean for an African American woman who has 5 daughters? It means that I am going to have to do all of their hair. Okay? And because I have to do all of their hair, my husband he's a man, he doesn't know how to do hair. Thankfully, I am quite skilled in doing hair. My mom taught me how to braid when I was coming up. Thank you, Mom. I have kind of, mastered how to braid. So I have to schedule doing their hair. And I choose to do their hair. I've scheduled to do their hair every other Saturday. I take my Saturdays and I'll just go through and take a good, 4 to 5 hours to get all of their hair done. It might take a little bit longer if I choose to wash it and condition and all of that. But if I did not schedule it, my life would be a ball of mess. And it seems like that 2 weeks rolls around very quickly. However, that schedule makes it very easy for me to get, well, I won't say very easy, but it makes it easier for me to manage all of their hair. Okay, so if you are an African American woman and you have girls, you want to set a schedule for when you're going to do their hair. And you also want them to know the schedule. So I'm on my girls, if they're just rolling around and wrestling and just being wild and crazy and they're kind of getting their hair messy, I'll remind them, girls, it's not time for me to do your hair yet. I need you to help me out. Don't just be, rolling around and getting it all frizzy and crazy, because I am very concerned about how my children look in public. I don't want them to go out and look ungroomed, because people nowadays will judge you, okay? So I am very conscious about how they look when they go out. I want to make sure they're very presentable. So with that in mind, I set a schedule for their hair. We also have started to set a schedule for family time. So we'll make Wednesday nights our family night, and on Fridays we do date night. We're supposed to do date night, but my husband has a tendency of coming home and falling asleep, and I'm trying to be understanding of that, because he has worked all week, I've worked all week, and he doesn't get that time to just kind of lay down and get refreshed and then do the date night. But he is working on it. He's going to get better. However, we did designate that day for a date night. And then we also schedule bedtime, and my kids go to bed at like 8, latest 8:30. They know that that's their bedtime, so that I can have mommy time before I go to bed. All right, so setting a schedule is going to be very important. All right, tip number 4 is going to be delegate. You want to delegate responsibility, okay? Again, you want to delegate responsibility so that the load is not so heavy on you. Whether you're a single mom, or you have a spouse, or you have a partner, you want to delegate that responsibility to your partner, and also delegate that responsibility to your children. My responsibility as a parent is not just to show you the way, but it's also to teach you the way. And in me teaching you the way, I also have to give you time to apply what I'm teaching you, okay? So I'm going to show you how to clean up and cook and things like that, and how to be a good person and things like that, but you have to apply it, okay? And also in our household, we set a structure for teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. So with that in mind, I will not do it all by myself, okay? I will not. Because if I do it all by myself, I'm going to be extremely overwhelmed. There's been times over the course of my daughter's over the course of this 8 years, to where I did just take it all in and just, get it all done by myself. And I was extremely overwhelmed, extremely stressed, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I set a structure, and I delegated, and I let my husband know the things that I needed him to do to help. And, some people may say, well, why you got to tell him? He should know. Yeah, we think that many people should know, but we don't tell them they're not going to know. So I set up, certain things that I need him to do to help out with the house and help out with the girls. And then I also just started I think I did it like a few months ago. I set a schedule for the girls as far as their chores. They now have chores, and I just gave them to my 8, 7, and 5-year-old, because they're old enough to do chores at this point. And before, it was me just kind of telling them to do this or do that, sweep, or, I would tell them just randomly. And because I did that, they would always complain, well, why do I have to do this? I don't really want to do it. Or you kind of hear them mumbling, and they kind of act like they don't really want to do it. Although they are pretty compliant and they will do it, you just can tell that they don't want to. But because I set a structure and I set a schedule for them, and I started to delegate so that they knew what their chore was for the day, I didn't get as much apprehension from them, or concern about who has to do what when. So let me show you what it looks like. And it's not the neatest. It doesn't have to be neat or anything. And it's kind of, some of the numbers are coming off. But I just use a calendar, a dry erase board calendar. And as you can see here, it says November chores. Hopefully you can see that. And I just put the girls' first initials on the left side of each day. And then on the right side, I just put what chore they're going to do. And I just did a quick, jot down of what the chore would be. So I just put symbols. So S knows if they got an S, they knew that they had to sweep for that day. If they had the WD, that means they had to wash dishes. And if they have WT, that means that they have to wipe the table and pick up around the house. All right, so just them taking on those chores and me rotating that chore, it seemed like every 3 days their chores would kind of repeat. So it was in a cycle, a 3-day cycle. They would have to do the same thing every 3 days. But this has made my life so much easier because I'm not taking the bulk of the load on by myself. Okay. So, just try to, I think I purchased this from Walmart, this particular calendar. I purchased this from Walmart, but I'm sure you can purchase them at Amazon or Office Max or any location that sells dry erase boards. So try using this strategy as far as delegating chores, or if you want to just put up a poster board or, whatever it takes for you to delegate when your children are of age, assign them chores. And some people pay allowance. Do what works for you and your family as far as the allowance. I haven't started giving my kids allowance just yet because I don't want them to feel like they're working just to earn something. I want them to have intrinsic motivation. You do it because mommy asked you to do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. You want to instill those principles in your children. You don't want them to always think that, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get this, for every action there is a reaction, but you just don't want them. And I see that in the classroom too much, that they do things just to get something. And in life, you don't always get a positive reward every time you do the right thing. So I'm kind of holding off on the allowances as of right now. And maybe we'll decide later on in life that we want to do an allowance, but not right now. We have too many kids. And again, I want them to do it because it's right. All right. Okay. Tip number 5 is to establish routines. That kind of correlates with delegating responsibility, but you want to establish a routine in your family. So by establish a routine, I mean like in the mornings, there should be a certain routine that you have. At bedtime, there should be a certain routine. And you want to set that routine so the kids can kind of know what to expect, what the expectations are, and how this system or this routine will work. So in the morning, I have to be to work by 7:10. And I have 3 children that are in school now. So I set a morning routine where they know they get up about 5:45, between the window of 5:45 and 6 o'clock. Because I might get up a little bit later depending on how late I stayed up the night before. But that's another story, okay? So they get up about 5:45 to 6 o'clock. So that gives me about a 30, 35 minute, maybe even 40-minute window for us to get all our clothes on and get situated to get out of the door. So what I do is I have set a timer. Let me see if I can find my timer. 1 minute. In the morning, once they get up, I set a timer. And I just purchased a timer that looks like this. I got it from Dollar Tree. It only costs $1. So I'll set a timer for every 5 minutes. So what will happen is I have 3. So 3 that go to school. So my 2 younger of the 3 will brush their teeth. And my older of the 3 will take her bath. So while she's taking her bath, they're brushing their teeth. And within that 5-minute window, they should be finished with that task. And then once the 5-minute timer goes off, they switch. So while one of the younger ones is now taking her bath, my oldest is brushing her teeth, and the other one will pick up any clothes or anything that's kind of just misplaced in the bathroom. So by the time the timer goes off, both of the older and the other of the 2 should be finished with their bath and their teeth. And now I have the last one who is now taking her bath. The other 2 should be getting their clothes on, getting their shoes on, and getting situated. And then I'll have that other one to fall in and finish with her routine. They should also be finding bows during that process, getting their coats on, getting their snack, and then we're ready to head out of the door. During our nightly routine, they typically will go through finishing their chores. After they finish their chores, I'll read a book to them. We'll make sure that everything is out for the night before because we take baths in the morning. They brush their teeth before they go to bed, and then we'll say our prayers and we go to our beds. My baby daughters, they always want you to say before they go to bed, Mommy, they'll yell from the bed, Mommy, am I your baby? And if I don't say I'm your baby, "You're my baby" back. Like, they just are done for the night. They're screaming and hollering, and I have to say back, "You're my baby." And when I say that, they go to bed, they're fine, and then they go through the process, and this is the cutest thing, they go through the process of telling all their sisters that they love them, and they give them a hug. And if we forget to give them their hug from their sisters, they just have a conniption, and then we gotta say, "Mommy, am I your baby?" And I say, "You're my baby back," and they go to bed for the night. It's the cutest thing to watch. Maybe I'll record that one time for you all to see, but it's so cute. But we've established that routine. I just dropped my timer. Yeah, but we've established those routines in our house. And even if it's a routine transition for Sunday mornings or you getting out of the door, establish a certain routine so that everybody knows what the routine is to make it easier for you. Tip number 6 is going to be set expectations. You want to set expectations and have talks with your children about what your expectations are, what you would like for them to do. And then if they don't comply with those expectations, or if they're not listening, they need to know like what the incentive is or what the consequence is going to be. Okay. So, in particular, like for my children, I want them to be respectful. I want them not to argue. And I want them, when I ask them to do something, for them to do it. I want them to say please and thank you. Okay. So if there are times where they're just throwing tantrums and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I've already explained to them that I'm going to, in many cases, count to 3. So they know that so if they're having a tantrum or they're arguing with their sisters and they're getting really loud, or if I'm asking them to come and they won't come, as soon as I say 1, they know they better start making their way to me, or they better start calming down, and they need to go through the process of refraining from doing whatever that behavior is. By the time I get to 3, they know that by 3, if I haven't done what mommy asked me to do, that there's going to be a consequence, whether it be timeout or whether it is, I believe in sparing the rod, spoiling the child, if you know what I mean. Okay. Now, everybody doesn't believe in that, and that's okay. That's your philosophy. That's your belief system. I'm not going to discredit your system. But for me and my house, okay, all right, we're going to do it biblical. All right. So, and that works. So when they see that, okay, mommy's about to lay down a consequence, and you want to make sure that it's a legitimate consequence that works for your kids. Because some consequences that we might lay out, it's not doing anything. If you see it's not working, try something else. Well, this in my house works, okay? They know that if mommy has asked me too many times to do something, or if I'm not listening, I'm throwing a tantrum, there's going to be a consequence. Now, I want you to keep in mind, but there are also incentives. Like, for instance, with my kids, if they eat all their food and they eat their vegetables, they know they can get a snack. So if they don't eat their vegetables, if they don't eat their meal, oh, it's okay, it's fine. You're not getting a snack. So there is a consequence. They know the expectation, and they know that there will be a consequence if they don't do what mommy and daddy are asking them to do. Okay. And people always say, well, your kids behave so well in public, and they're wonderful kids. And yes, they are. But they know that there are expectations that mommy and daddy have for them. There are expectations that God has for them. And that's another thing that really helps. If you teach them the ways of God, then a lot of things that, other children may have to worry about, we don't as much, because we just instill that godly nature in them. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that there are going to be things that they are just not going to ever do in life as they get older. No, because we all take different paths. But when it comes to expectations and things that we need them to do, they typically will do them. Okay. All right, now tip number 6 is, and I know that some of us may laugh when we hear this, but tip number 6 is going to be keep it together, girl. Keep it together. Do not let them see you sweat. And some of you might say, well, who are them? Who are they? Who is them? Them is anyone who's looking at you to see when you're going to flinch, or to see when you're going to fail as a parent. Anyone who is speaking negatively over you having so many children. Children are a blessing. God asked that we be fruitful and multiply. And did I think that I would have 5 children? No, God no. I only wanted max 4. But we just fell upon 5. I don't know how we got 5. Don't let people see you being overwhelmed. Do we get overwhelmed? Yes, but you do not want people to see you get overwhelmed, because when they do, it brings that negative connotation. And I also want to motivate people and inspire them and let them know that they can do it as well. So when I'm in public, my most common statement that I receive from people is, "Oh man, you really have your hands full," or "You really have your hands tied," or "How do you manage with all those kids?" And they kind of look down on you. You kind of hear my kids in the background. People kind of look down on you if you have multiple children, because they think that generally, stereotypically speaking, that you're on welfare or you're getting handouts, or you're a charity case. And I'm not speaking negatively against that, but that's what people think. If that's your means of being able to provide for your family, you do that, because that's the phase of life that you're in. We all go through different stages and different seasons. However, there are many people who just feel that if you have more than, say, 2 or 3 kids, that you have too many and that you can't manage them. So I try my best to be as calm and as cool as I can in public. Even if my kids are getting on my last nerve, I am pulling it in and I'm presenting this demeanor like I have it together. And I'm also doing that in front of my children, because I don't want them to see or to think that I can't manage them as well. So don't let them see you sweat. Keep it together, not in public. I want you to keep it together in public, but also in front of your kids. Because when your kids or children feel like they've gotten the best of you, they feel like they've won and they don't have to listen, or they don't have to comply with whatever rules or expectations or procedures you're setting for them. All right. So no matter how overwhelmed you are, pull it in, go into your room, go into your closet, go into your bathroom, let it all out, and then come back out, with it all intact, okay? So is that going to always be the easiest thing to do? Because I have my times where I want to just scream and shout and just go crazy. And sometimes I do. Gordon will tell you. But in public, sister girl has it together, okay? All right, tip number 7 is to communicate. It is so important that you communicate how you're feeling. If you're overwhelmed, let people know where you are. Now, by people, and when I say communicate, you want to make sure that you are choosing the appropriate structure to communicate in. You want to make sure that you're not communicating to everybody, or, through social media telling people, how overwhelmed you are and all of this. You just don't want to do that. I think that's just TMI. It's too much information. Everybody doesn't need to know that. But you find your safe place, or, even if it's just you talking to your spouse or to someone you trust. Communicate how you are feeling. Self-care is so important. Mental health is so important. And a lot of times I found that between Gordon and I, when I go through these days and weeks where I'm feeling some type of way about me feeling like he's possibly not helping as much as I need him to, it starts to build. And you just feel your stress levels rising, okay? But if I don't communicate with him and tell him what I'm needing from him and the assistance that I need from him, then I'm kind of putting that pressure and that extra weight on myself. So don't put unnecessary weight or pressure on yourself. Communicate with people and let them know how you're feeling so that you can get it off your chest, but also communicate with them what you need from them so that they know how they can help you. Okay, that people say, well, closed mouths don't get fed, or how will I know if you don't tell me? It's true. They don't know because you didn't speak up and say how you were feeling. So please communicate how you're feeling during this process of motherhood or fatherhood or whatever hood you're in. Communicate how you're feeling. Number 8 is to take time for you. Although during the process of parenthood, it's not completely about you anymore. We already talked about that. But you still have to take that time to, just decompress, and to take time to just relax and to focus your thoughts. Take time to just be entertained and have fun, so that your journey of parenthood is not so dim and gloomy and just so overwhelming. It doesn't feel like a task that you're having to do all day long, and for the rest of your life. You don't want to feel like you're in a trap. So please take time for you. Schedule a day or schedule an hour during your day to where you can have time just for you. And because I have multiples, it is very hard for me to find that time alone. However, I do get time alone every once in a while to where I can just go shopping, or somebody might pay for, Mary might pay for a massage, or my husband might pay for me to get a massage, or I'll just on a daily or weekly basis, I'll schedule to go to the Y. And by Y, I mean YMCA, because they do have the family memberships. So I'll try to go there 2 to 3 times a week, because they do have the stay and play, and then they have the interactive zone for my older girls. So then I can go and work out and, just get some of that stress off, and also burn calories and look wonderful for my man, But take time for you. It is so important that you're not just pouring out to everybody else, but you're also, replenishing yourself. You're refueling yourself so that you can give out to everybody else. Okay. Number 9 is going to be to encourage yourself. On this parenthood journey, you are going to have times to where people are speaking against you. You're going to have times to where you feel like you're not being a good parent. You feel like you're not being a good mom. You're not being a good dad. And I have these moments, to where I feel like, girl, you are just screwing this whole thing up. You're not doing a good job. But I do have, after those moments of, disbelief and doubt, I do have moments to where I am encouraging myself, like, you are really doing an awesome job. Like, even with having multiple children, you're managing this well. Somebody else, if they had this many children, they wouldn't be able to do what you're doing, girl. So try to encourage yourself. Even if you're not where you want to be, I'm sure you've progressed. You've gotten better. You're, getting into the hang of it. You're getting better. Every moment's not going to be perfect, but you are getting better. It's going to work out for the good. You can do it. Encourage yourself during this process that you can make it happen for you and your children. And just remind yourself that, I talked about this earlier, how you're on assignment. But remind yourself and encourage yourself that this is God's work that you're doing. You're not just doing this for yourself, but you're being the hands and the feet of God for your children. So lastly, my tip number 10 would be to do what works for you. A lot of people are going to give you or offer you strategies and techniques and methods that they say work, and they're research based, and it's proven to work. We've analyzed the statistics, and we've gone through and we've done all these studies. However, you have to do what works for you. What works for you based on your experience, okay? Because what works in my house might not work in yours, okay? And what works for your children might not work for my children. Because as we see, as we know, just even with my kids in particular, what works for one child is not going to work for the other. So with that in mind, what works for my house may not work for your house, okay? So you can try what I'm suggesting to you. However, you have to do what works best for you. And please, during this process of parenthood, do not get caught up in comparing your parenting to someone else's parenting. Don't get caught up in comparing your house to someone else's house, okay? And by that I mean, because through social media, we always show the positive side, okay? We're going to show you our best moments. Gordon and I, we show you our best moments, okay? Honestly speaking, okay? So don't get caught up in looking at what this couple or what this marriage or this group of parents is doing and think that, oh man, I'm just horrible. Like I'm not doing well, because it will weigh on you. This whole cycle of comparison that we've gotten into in society is so horrible, very detrimental to our growth and to our progress. So you as a parent, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Do what works for you. Take the suggestions that are offered. Listen to certain strategies, listen to podcasts, watch videos, do what you need to do. But when you bring it back to your home, you have to assess it, try it out. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, find something else that works for you. Okay? All right, guys, that is the end of this video. I hope that I've given you several helpful tips to help you in your journey of parenthood and in motherhood. It is not easy, but it is a process that you can do, okay? You can do it. And I'm sure that you are being an awesome mom. You're an awesome father. And I'm sure that daily you're working towards being better. All right, I love you guys. And I want you to turn that notification bell on so that you know when we're offering another video. I love you guys. Perfect, Tanya. Do you hear this? Alright guys, so I love you all and thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for watching. And until next time.
To me, you wanna make me believe that.
Bye guys.